Do you ever feel like something must be wrong with you? Maybe you're not built to live in this human society? Lately, I've been laying around, ruminating, really feeling down on myself, wallowing in baby goose feathers. My comforter broke. But to cheer myself up, though, I started thinking about this lady I know from grad school, Sandra. Really creepy type. Stares a lot while you're not looking. And anyway, she has a thing for taxonomy, something like that. We were at this seminar on taxonomy, actually, on preserving nature through taxonomy or whatever. I didn't really pay much attention, but Sandra's there staring at me, not blinking. Sandra goes, "You are taxonomically speaking an ape." And I go, "What, like a monkey?" And then she goes, "No, I'd say more like Neanderthalensis, but a hominid, a great ape." And I'm pretty modest, so I just kind of shrugged off the compliment, but I really did need to feel better. So later I got on the Google to search for something to stroke my ego to, and images of lesser apes and monkeys and stuff, kind of compare my great ape self to. And I wound up reading about great apes and what they needed to thrive, like lead happy, productive lives. And the bonobos and the gorillas, even most of the monkeys, they need a warm subtropical or tropical climate to thrive. And it's either that or captivity, and to thrive in captivity you really need to be careful, like a whole list of requirements. Like a chimp has to have branches, like a enrichment for climbing and stuff, and a varied and expensive and specialized diet, it said, and hygiene and diapers, and the economy being what it is, I have trouble affording all that. And it's hard. I had to go off diapers by the age of 9. So I'm quite behind on my care requirements, and in my research I found that all the apes involved in human civilization are not doing that great. And we got, you got your depressed zoo gorillas, sort of like me here, and then you got your pet chimps throwing feces around to cope. It's like the bathroom stall at my old office building. And then you got monkeys. They're the invasive macaque monkeys, the macaques. Am I saying that right? It's a hard one. They'll take your phone and they'll hold it ransom for food. A very familiar business model, I say. But a bunch of degenerate criminals. But yeah, despite all the degeneracy, though, our primate cousins, they seem happier than us. And they don't have to go to work. And even if they did, they'd have to be tricked into enjoying it. Trained circus monkeys with their little Shriner hats. But we wouldn't fall for those sorts of tricks, would we? We're smart with our big frontal lobes. So you'd need a pretty elaborate trick to train a human. Nobody's fooling me anyway, I can't even trick someone into giving me a job. So, but at least I'm out here away from fluorescent lights, breathing in this nice fresh air and enjoying a brief moment of winter sunshine. But, Bigfoot, he does well out here. It's a little cold for me, but he's got a nice layer of insulating hair. But we humans, we have sparse, weird, scraggly hair all over the place. We're the inverse of most primates with our hair, Never really see an ape with a mustache. But I guess ladies, they usually don't have mustache. But I'm not sure what the controversy was when I once told this lady that her upper lip was consistent with that of a female ape. It should be a compliment. Yeah, we got these strange hair patterns, but at least we got the hair on our heads, though, some of us anyway. I'm glad I still have mine, my hair, I mean. Not my head, or I do wish I do have a head. My hair is all I got going for me, really, and I guess as a species, our big hair-covered heads are all we got going for us, our big fat heads. So every creature has some special advantage, Lions, they got claws and teeth and stealth and stuff, and it'd be very difficult for a lion with its natural inclinations to, for example, become a globally invasive species, but that would take a really rare set of circumstances. But looking like a big bobblehead on camera with all our opinions and stuff, we seem uniquely adept at just causing all sorts of pandemonium just by opening our mouths. Like and subscribe to support me opening my mouth. Thank you. I almost slipped and hurt myself. Sorry. Anyhow, I guess that's why we see ourselves as separate from nature. We have nature versus technology, nature versus man or woman, sorry. Nature versus non-binary computers, quantum computers with AI identifying as man versus nature and man. Yes, we're very different from the other apes. I like to pretend I remember the day we came out as Homo sapiens to the rest of nature. My great bunch of times great ape grandfather eyeing a perfectly good mango hanging from a perfectly good mango tree. And he said, "You know what, Sandra's ancestor, I guess, I'm rather tired of picking these fruits directly. Wouldn't it be great if we devised a big complicated process to pick them indirectly?" And before we knew it, we had stock markets and taxes and call centers and $6 bottled water with A variety of flavors, all these different flavors, citrus and blackberry and water flavored. But maybe you say, no, it's not that simple. There were ice ages, disease, and famine. We're survivors. We survived. And maybe it's just me, but 8 billion of us or whatever it is now seems like a lot. I reckon we survived a little too excessively. I reckon, dang gummit. So we outsmarted the cold and famine and predators, but then we took it too far. Look what we did to the wolves. They're pets now, right? I think there's original sin, right? Like a little nudge, cascading effect, and then all of a sudden we're here. And I can't go back now because my parents' dog has a Xanax prescription. And original sin, like Adam and Eve, you know? I'm not going to get all religious or blame it on the lady, though. As you saw with my mango example, I'm not going to do that. But not that I'm not sexist, though, because I've been told that great ape males tend to mansplain things. It's not complicated, but I know you're thinking about it wrong, so let me keep it simple for you. You're going to go really slow here. I've got an example. One reason I quit coffee was that it used to give me these really good ideas that I would regret later, you know? And quitting didn't quite help with all that. I still do that. But as an unemployed software developer, I can attest to this. A junior developer that has a really great idea and it gets into the production code and nobody notices till it's too late. Years later, everything has to be backwards compatible and the whole system becomes an intractable mess, and then you have Microsoft Windows. I think that's what happened to our society. It unfolded from that one bad idea, or good idea. This matrix is run on code worse than Internet Explorer. And I'm pretty sure that's why Bill Gates kept trying to do things outside of software, and his wife. No longer just computer code to keep away those Russian infections. Anyhow, world leaders making strange decisions and all that. I don't know what's going on. I really think maybe it's just drugs. They're all on drugs. Like the really good ideas on caffeine. It's probably why the people in charge are so messed up. Probably something worse than caffeine, right? It may have started with something like that, but it spiraled, you know? You know, there are these off-the-wall claims that maybe they're drinking children's blood as a drug, you know? And maybe you'll look at your children and find something like that hard to digest. But those guys don't. And it would explain why everything's getting crazier out there, too. It was a bad system before when it was like all medieval blood drinking, but now you got Skittles and Mountain Dew, and it's really hard for the bad guys to digest, too. The microplastics and red dye number 40, right? CEO trillionaire goes to the doctor, and the doctor's like, wow, sociopathy, substance use disorder, and blood in your stool, and now gynecomastia and executive dysfunction. I think you need an antidepressant, he says. And the trillionaire goes, excellent, my business model is working. Dinner at 6. Will the kids be there? Anyway, we live in this drugged up system, rich or poor, right? Us lowly peons trying to keep up and cope with the peon drugs like caffeine and alcohol. And it's not all bad, though. At least we got these cool devices. We can research taxonomy of great apes or do cool stuff like play video games, go on a min-max your paladin, go on a quest, go to the rainforest biome and collect 6 mangoes. I quit video games a while ago. I don't do that anymore. So I try to do quests now in real life. So I got my own character sheet and everything, like really leveling up here. But I know it's sad, but we're all coping. Gotta hack our feelings where we can, though. Hard with these big bobbleheads. Sometimes we can't be fooled by the system. Not sure how people manage, honestly. You ever heard the saying, ignorance is bliss? If not, then good, never mind. But yeah, I just don't know how people ignorantly play along anymore. I'm at the point where I can't motivate myself to do the most basic things required to participate in society properly. Like, how do people convince themselves to buy a garbage bag? You're buying a piece of plastic just to throw it out. You know, I'm just at the right point on the Dunning-Kruger curve of being a YouTube bobblehead, big mouth, great ape, to think I have a solution to all this. And I propose a simple rule for our society. That is, every technology must not counteract itself. Every technology has a purpose, so every technology should not counteract its own purpose. Social media that makes people socially inept, that shouldn't exist. Touch screens in cars and safety alerts in cars that are distracting, that shouldn't exist. It's counteractive. And, you know, nuclear bombs. I'm slipping. Nuclear bombs. If you're going to make a bomb, its job is to kill the bad people in a spectacular fashion. And if it's going to kill everybody on the planet, then that's a contradiction. That counteracts itself, right? And plus, bombers themselves are bad, so that's contradiction too. They can't just go blow themselves up. Oh, God, sorry. I promise my philosophy is solid, though, and not strewn all over the place. What tech would be allowed with this philosophy? I like bikes myself, you know? How wholesome is a bicycle, right? Like, it doesn't counteract its own purpose, you know? Converting human energy into elegant physics concepts like gyroscopic forces and mechanical advantage. Maybe a bit of child labor and tire dust here or there, but that's all logistics. And once we abandon Lycra and stuff like that, we'll be in this ideal world where we're done pretending about things like child labor. I probably should elaborate on that one, but we're using the frontal lobe properly in this case. And imagine had we maxed out the bicycle technology tree. Bikes maxing. We could live in this paradise where we have these pedal-powered zeppelins soaring over the lush, food-filled rainforest, dancing and singing in little bamboo houses, and everyone with like great cadence and a comely turn to their toned calves. And it all fits now, you see, like we got the aerodynamics and the sparse reverse ape body hair, and you know, the hair patterns finally make sense. Except the hard to reach places, they still don't make sense to me though, like where the sun and the aerodynamics don't apply. But actually, I was trying to get a look back there the other day, you know, how sometimes it can feel like something's stuck back there, and felt something back there, and I was sort of twisted around trying to see, and suddenly some lady yells, "Hey, there's a monkey in your pants, grab it!" And I turn around and off goes one of those macaque monkeys with my wallet. This lady standing there, staring, not blinking. "Sandra," I say, "oh, hi." And then she says, "I'm now short on one macaca fascicularis thanks to you." And then she goes, "But no matter, H. neanderthalensis will do." I go, "Oh yeah, I think I remember that one from the seminar on preserving nature through taxonomy." And she goes, "I think you mean the seminar on preserving nature through taxidermy. I mean to mount a neanderthalensis with a virginianus to my wall." And I have to say I was taken aback by that. Tugging at my sleeve, and I look down and the monkey's there. There's the monkey. He puts my wallet back in my hands. And he goes, "Speaking of taxonomy, I checked your wallet and you have no class." And then he takes his little Shriner hat and puts it on and walks away muttering, "Oh dear, Neanderthals, that was low brow."